Thank you for joining today's class. We are going to look at persuasive writing, continuing on from yesterday's class. Yesterday's class, we introduced persuasive writing, where we looked at what is persuasive writing. We learned that persuasive writing is the art of rhetoric, where you present your opinions backed by fact in order to have someone adopt or accept your opinion, your stance, or your ideology. We looked at the purpose of persuasive writing. Writing is used anywhere where you're trying to persuade someone to do something or think a particular way. So you may find persuasive writing maybe in a debate competition, like public speaking. You may find persuasive writing at a business pitch. Yes, you may find a business pitch where two individuals are discussing or debating which perspective or which approach might be better for the business. So you have your opinion backed by factual details. Or if you are a politician for your campaigns, you usually have to debate with other politicians presenting your policies and the reasons why you think these policies are important. And also in the profession of law, if you're doing law, nice joining you in class today. If you're doing law and you're a lawyer, lawyers, while they're in the courtroom, practice the art of rhetoric, where they debate the facts of the case and then they allow the jury and the magistrate to when they determine which side of the case presented in presentation of the facts. So the purpose of rhetoric can be seen even in letters to the editor, as a civilian may write to a newspaper discussing their particular stance on a topic and their opinion on the topic, and then they will follow through with facts that support their opinion. Persuasive writing is also found in health industries, weight loss industries, any industry where your actions are necessary to change, to bring about change. You will find individuals will present to you facts on why you should not do something. For example, an activist speaking out on why you should stop smoking or why we should stop trawler fishing in the ocean. So these are just some of the areas where persuasive writing is used. And that would be the purpose for persuasive writing. I do apologize for the breaks. It seems as though the internet is not that strong today. Today, as we moved on from the structure of persuasive writing, which is the 5-paragraph structure which we learned when we did expository writing, we are continuing with that structure, where today we are going to start our introductory paragraph. So yesterday after class, I asked that you come up with a topic that you think is important for you to bring awareness or activism to, just like what we did for cause and effect writing when we did expository. Some of you looked at crime, some of you looked at other areas. For this class, you will have to have your topic ready, right? So you have to have your topic ready. What would be a good topic for you to look at, for you to come up with your introductory paragraph? So before we even start with our introductory paragraph, we always start with our pre-writing process. So the pre-writing process you should have done yesterday. These are some of the things that you should have already done for your pre-writing process. The first thing you do in pre-writing is brainstorm. So what are some of the things that you might have brainstormed yesterday? Seeing that Ms. Pompey is the only person in class logged in at the moment, I will not put her on the spot to give me her suggestions. I will use an anecdotal class situation or a hypothetical class situation. So we are brainstorming what topics we can look at. We can look at topics in finance, right? So what would be an opinionated topic in finance that you want to look at? Or maybe you can look at socialization, the interaction of different types of people. Is it age groups? Is it gender? Is it class? Is it occupation? Is it location? So we can look at social issues that are evident. We can also look at political issues as we're looking at socio-economic, and we can also look at political. What are some of political issues that you think you can debate in order to bring about change? Okay, we can also look at ideological issues. When I say ideological issues with people's beliefs. So some beliefs that you can have could be religious beliefs, what religion you or religious practice you may want to bring awareness to. You can talk about ideological beliefs as in feminism, or you can talk about marriage, you can talk about so many different ideological issues, just something that you believe in, right? And you can talk about health, right? So you can look at non-communicable diseases. What are some things people can do? You can look at other transmissible diseases, how you handle these transmissible diseases, the effective rate, etc., etc. So this is some of the brainstorming that you can do. So Gavisha, thank you for joining class. You said that you're going to do gender discrimination. So the first thing you did is brainstorm to figure out what gender discrimination, what topic you want to look at. Now, gender discrimination is a very broad topic because it encapsulates so many different things. So the next thing you will do when you have your broad topic is start looking at one specific area in that topic that you would like to break down. So we're gonna narrow this topic even further from our broad topic. So then we can start looking at categories of things. Right? We can start looking at specific areas of things. So what would be a specific area of gender discrimination that you may want to look at? Do you want to look at female gender discrimination, male gender discrimination, transgender discrimination? What are some of the areas that you want to look at? So you start breaking down the different aspects. So for me, I would want to say, break it down into one specific gender that is being discriminated against. So let's say, for example, we choose female gender discrimination, right? After we have identified female gender discrimination, we're going to break that down even further. What about females are discriminated against? So if I had the board here with me, right? If I had the board here with me, my topic will start with persuasive writing. Then I would look at social, historical, financial, economical, political, global, ideological. All of those headlines, I will put different things that draw my attention. After that, I would have my specific category. So I chose social, and I'm looking at gender discrimination. Now, gender can be female gender, male gender, transgender, right? So when I look at those three different genders, which gender do I want to talk about discrimination? So below that, I will have female discrimination, right? So after female discrimination, I want to say, what aspects of discrimination, so under discrimination, what aspects of discrimination am I going to look at? Right? So that's my next point. People can be discriminated against in a lot of ways. There can be discrimination on the job. There can be discrimination socially. There can be discrimination for financial opportunities. There can be discrimination for housing opportunities. There can be discrimination for adoption. There's so many things that discrimination can manifest as. So what you will then do is choose 3 areas of discrimination. Okay? So Pompey, I don't know if you want to give me your topic, and let's go through the process of narrowing our topic once again. So in the first phase of even starting to write your essay, we start with our pre-writing process, and the pre-writing process is always going to be helping us get our ideas all together. Yesterday after class, I asked you to prepare So I am just going over how you would have prepared your topic for today. The topic preparation comes in the pre-writing stage of the writing process, right? So when you're thinking about a topic that you're going to discuss, if it's not a topic that is given to you, CSEC will give you the topic, right? So CSEC gives you the topic, you just start writing after you do your main points and so on. But in the process of creating your own topic, which is what you're going to have to do for the SBA, this is how you go through that process. And we did this when we did cause and effect writing, where we categorize and organize and so on. So I'm just following through. So Pompey, you said you're doing political. So Pompey chose political. What aspect or what area of politics do you want to discuss? There's always something in politics. Let me give you some ideas. So it can be corruption. It can be poor policy. It can be promises not being fulfilled. It can be misuse of power, misuse of funds. It can be possibility of re-elections or being elected. It can be the reason why you should choose a particular party for their policies, for their ideologies, for their contingent, for the individuals who are there. What aspect of politics do you want to look at? You want to look at the policy making and the actual governance, or you want to look at campaigning and the electoral process, right? So we look at misuse of political power. So when you talk about misuse of political power, we then have to break down that even further. If I'm looking at the misuse of political power, I now have to debate whether somebody is misusing political power, or if misuse of political power is even observable in a particular party, in a country, whatever. What is that country? We can look at St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? So who will be misusing power? Is it politicians in power, or is it opposition party? So we can say, is the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines misusing political power? So that will be your topic, right? So is the government, and you have to say which party, because I can say is the opposition, right? I can say is the opposition misusing, right? So I have to say is the government. So is the government misusing power in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? Or we can spice it up a little, and we can say, we can spice it up a little and say, the government's misuse of power is leading to something, right? So if you want to debate whether or not their misuse of power is going to lead to something, you can spice it up, right? So the government's misuse of power is leading to economic decline. Okay? So we narrow it down. How is this misuse of power going to manifest? The same way discrimination can manifest differently, and we choose whether we're going to look at job discrimination against females. We look at the misuse of power leading to economic decline. We can look at it, is the misuse of power leading to judicial decline, right? Maybe politicians not getting charged. Maybe they have friends who not getting charged. These are things that we look at, right? So as you break down the topic, you narrow it down to 3 specific areas that you're going to look at. If you're going to say that females are being discriminated against on the job, what are some ways that this discrimination is? They can have less pay, they can have more work, and they can have less freedom or more rigid hours for family that does not permit a woman to do whatever, or they don't have female facilities at the job. Let's say, for example, they don't have a stall with female bins for sanitary napkins, or maybe they do not permit you to leave to go to the bathroom as often. Some jobs require you not to go to the bathroom a specific amount of time. So for a man who may not have to run to the bathroom as often. For a woman, that might be considered discrimination. So you look at the 3 specific areas of discrimination. If you're going to talk about misuse of power, you can probably talk about misuse of authority in the judicial system, misuse of authority in the hiring and firing process of individuals. You can look at misuse of power with mandatory policies that are not supported by law. Those are some of the things that you can look at, right? But you will have to narrow down what are the 3 specific events that you're going to highlight that is going to show where your point is correct or your opinion is correct. After we do that, the same way for the cause and effect essay, we had to put them in order of, how did we put them in order of? Less severe to most severe, least important to most important, sooner to later. You remember that structure where we had to organize those points in a sequential manner? Right, so we're going to do the same thing. Is somebody being discriminated against because there are no sanitary napkins as important as unequal pay? Which one is more important? The pay, right? So you're going to start with maybe bathroom hours, not being allowed to go to the bathroom often. Then you will follow up with the sanitary napkin bin and whatever other maybe sanitary napkin dispenser that needs to be installed. There is no facility for that. There's no facility. There are no amenities like toilet paper and so on in the bathroom for females, etc. Or maybe there is one bathroom where the males and females have to be. That is another issue. And then you move on to the last one, which would be unequal pay. Okay, unequal pay, or if you're going to look at not giving enough time for things like maternity leave and so on, you can talk about that. So you organize them in least severe to most severe, least important to most important. For political issues, we can look at maybe political issues such as not allocating funds accordingly. So let's say misuse of power in the form of funding. So in the first situation, you can talk about the potholes in your road, but because not many people live in your area who voted for that party, they don't fix the potholes in your road. Then you can go on to talk about hiring and firing, right? So certain people who voted for the political party are given certain jobs even though they are not qualified, or they are lacking job experience, or they are fraudulent in claiming their qualifications, or their lack of qualifications thereof. But because they know a politician, the politician will put them in a position higher, give them certain clout. Even though they do not have an official title, they still experience certain official privileges for a particular grade that they do not occupy and so on. And then we can talk about maybe misuse of power in the form of money laundering or exploitation, or the same crime issue, right? Where they don't get locked up if they know a politician or something. So you can talk about money laundering in the form of using government facilities for personal gain, right? So like using a school as a carpentry shop for your personal gain, and not allowing students and teachers to do what the school is for. Or you can talk about exploitation in the form of people who have certain positions may send an employee to do their own personal biddings, like collect their child on afternoons after school. They may use a government vehicle to ask them to pick up the child, or something like a police car. They will send them to pick up the child at the school, an ambulance to pick up the child at school. And then we can talk about the same judicial process, not being charged after committing wrongs, or the court just keep putting off cases so that, you know, you become frustrated with the legal process and so on. So there's so many different things that you can break down. Unfair charges, yes, so you can have unfair charges. For example, you may allow a man to curse on the job, and then if a woman uses profanity, you may give her a harsh penalty like a suspension or so on. Or let's say, for example, a man comes in late and you permit the man to come in late, but then the woman comes in late and then she gets reprimanded. So yes, Gavisha, you are right. That is a good point that you have there. So you can add that. So you have your sanitary napkins, you have your unfair charges, you can also look at unfair wages. And that would be your 3 main points. And so I hope I helped you to narrow down your topic at least. For those who haven't had a chance to sign into class, when you do get an opportunity to watch this video, you will then decide what topic you want to do, and you can always forward me the information and I will help you to narrow down that topic. So now that we have our topic and now that we have our 3 main points, we can then go ahead researching data that supports our 3 main points. So part of the brainstorming process, as I asked you yesterday, was to do the research. So by now you should already have some article, some statistic from a governing body, maybe UNICEF or something, or some official organization like a ministry, maybe the Ministry of Education or something, that you can use to determine this is a factual point that I'm presenting and this is why this information is important. So you should have already your topic, your 3 main points, and your research data, right? We will come to the point of using persuasive techniques when we do the body. So I'm not going to tell you to choose your persuasive techniques right now. I just want you to have your introductory paragraph, because your introductory paragraph sets the tone for your body. And if you do not have your introductory paragraph, you won't know how to write your persuasive techniques, and you won't even know what facts you need to present, because you won't know what you're going to be writing on. So having your introductory paragraph is important for us moving forward in the body. So your introductory paragraph. So that's all right, Anto. So when you get time, you will just go through your research, whether it's a newspaper article, it can even be a speech on the radio that you heard, it can be a document from UNICEF or a ministry, or you can have something from an independent organization, let's say the University of West Indies, and so they have a political analyst and they presented a paper on the information, and you can use that. You cannot use information that you heard on the street. You cannot use information from somebody else's experiences that you cannot prove. If it's a personal experience, you can use that as part of your persuasive technique, but you cannot use it as part of your facts. Because remember, when we did cause and effect, I told you facts are secondary information, right? Even though we have personal experiences that will provide primary information, we are not experts, and that primary information is only going to be in the form of an anecdote that will enhance our stance and our opinion. But whenever we're looking at factual information, it has to come from authority. And when I say authority, I mean somebody who is considered an expert in the field. Right? So maybe a prime minister's experience that he speaks about on a radio program would be secondary factual information. But my personal information, I cannot use that as fact. I can only use it as an anecdote to enhance my opinion or my stance. Okay? So you have to have research data. When you get the time, you'll do that. So here's the first thing we need to do. We need to get our introductory sentence. Our introductory sentence can either be a quotation, right? So you can use a quotation. I saw a very good quotation for you, Anto, on WeFM. It says, "It is better to lead without a title than to have a title and cannot lead." I like that. That was a quotation that WeFM posted yesterday. Better to lead without a title than to have a title and cannot lead. So that would be a nice quotation to grab the reader's attention if we're going to talk about misuse of political power causing the decline of a country. Okay? And Gavisha, what do you think? Would you use a statistic? You can use a statistic. Maybe 80% of women are dissatisfied with their job, their working environment because of discrimination. That's a fact that I made up. Just like the cause and effect essay. Remember when we did cause and effect essay writing, I told you, CSEC is not going to corroborate your facts. CSEC is not going to sit down with every essay that was sent in and Google whether these facts are correct or not. So that's why I said you can make up, you can embellish facts for the examination because you do not have access to a computer, right? You can't do that for your SB, so prepare yourself. You cannot do that for your SB. But for the examination, you can fabricate and embellish facts because CSEC is only looking to see how well you will be able to identify factual information that would be relevant and impactful. So if you can present a fact that sounds like a fact and it looks like a fact that would be very useful in your stance, it would be very effective at your persuasion, CSEC will give you that. Then I'm going to double check it to make sure it's true. Trust me. I know teachers who mark CSEC papers. I know the CSEC marking process, they never tell you to double check facts. It's never like that. They tell you to just mark for the content. And the content is, does this person have factual data to support the point? Whether it's a true fact or not, or a made up fact, that's not CSEC's problem. So when you're writing for the exam, include facts or include statements that sound like facts, that are logical like facts, but they don't have to be actual facts. So don't feel frustrated if you get a topic you don't know much about. Use your real world knowledge and create something around that, right? But when we're looking at a good introductory sentence and you're looking for a fact, don't make the fact long and dreary and lengthy because you're trying to get the reader's attention. Those dreary facts are going to come in the body. So if you say 80% of women are dissatisfied with their working environment because of discrimination, that's a quick fact. Or we can give a fun fact, right? More women are choosing to work from home since the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. You understand? So make it a fun fact. It's not fun. COVID is not fun. Sorry if I offend anybody. But COVID is not fun. But I'm just saying. You can make it a fun fact or you can make it a quick fact. So you can have your quotation from a proverb, an idiomatic expression, anything. Like WeFM. I got that quotation from WeFM. And you have your fun fact or your quick fact. The next thing that you can use is a description. Now, when I say description, I mean maybe like an anecdote or something, right? Or a small description. For example, if we're talking about discrimination, you can say, imagine a world where women are working in a comfortable environment and are not afraid of the masculine presence in the job space. That's a description. Okay? Or you can talk about after 20 years of fervent support for a political party, it is quite disheartening now to observe the decline of the status of the country owing to or due to poor governance or misuse of power. That would be a description. It would be a statement, a description, basically how you see the world based on your stance. You got that? So you have a fun fact, a quick fact, a quotation, or an anecdote as a description. Now, don't do this for me, please. Do not do this for me, please. There is an inclination in Vincentians, and I'm not even going to say in students, in Vincentians, because I see it everywhere. I see it in Parliament, where you're supposed to be using persuasive speech in a formal setting. I see it in Parliament. I see it in public speaking. I see it so many places. There is this inclination to dramatize information. Yes, dramatizing information can be helpful. But when I talk about dramatizing information, I am talking about dramatize, like overly expressive to the point where it is clearly, it's a farce at this point. Okay? So please, if you're going to talk about which company is the best service provider, right? So we're saying poor telecommunication service in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a major problem. That's my topic, because I had to start this live about 5 times because of connectivity issues. Poor telecommunication system is a major problem in St. Vincent. Do not start. Ring, ring. Hello. What's going on? We are sorry. You see that dramatization? Please. I don't want a dialogue at the beginning of the essay. Do not put a dialogue. And even when you're doing your presentations for SBA, it's either you're going to dramatize something and maintain the elements of drama. And when I say maintain the elements of drama, you're going to stick to a script. You're going to stick to a character. You're going to stick to a plot. You're going to create a spectacle. Stick to that. But do not try to cross the genres. It looks very sketchy. One of the main things you need in literature when you're doing creative writing is something called a willing suspension of disbelief. Your audience has to have a willing suspension of disbelief. A willing suspension of disbelief means when I sit down to view this play, or I sit down to view this presentation, whether it's a commercial or a TV show or something, I know that person is Antoinette Pompey from Glen. I know that is Gavisha from Vermont. But on stage, Antoinette is going to see a politician. And Gavisha is the politician Antoinette is going to see. Right? So, somebody is saying the student should come on camera. I never won that battle, not even on online school, when we ask the students to put on the camera. Students never like to be on camera. But that would be interesting. So when we're talking about narratives and creative performances, your audience has to have this thing called willing suspension of disbelief, where I look at a stage. Obviously, I know this is not a courtroom. Look at the podium. The gavel is a real hammer. The person who is wearing a robe, that is a bathrobe and not an actual robe. The wig look like a granny wig. All of these walking parts that we know are not realistic. It does not create verisimilitude. But because we are putting ourselves in the frame of mind to be entertained, we want to enter into the world that is created before us. We suspend our faculties of disbelief, right? Unless we're trying to be very, very sarcastic and say, that ain't even a real coat. And why you wig now? That it look like one of them granny wig, then teeth. That ain't even a real wig. And watch, it ain't even have no cushion pandy. You ever see a magistrate in them kind of poor people chair? Unless you're going to be that person. Most times when people sit down to watch a play, we know poor production, whatever, but we're still engaged in the story because we suspend our disbelief. When we're doing informative, when I am standing up in Parliament and I'm going to discuss the political environment on which I must make a policy that is going to benefit the citizens of a country for years to come and so on. That is not the time for people to be suspending any mental capacity or any cognition. That is not the time for people to have any suspense in their mind. Suspense is where you don't have all the facts and you don't have all the information and you're anticipating the information fervently. That is not informative. Informative is where we are presenting all the facts to you clearly, concisely, coherently, logically. We are presenting this information backed by authority, facts that you can go and look up on your own and they will not differ. That is what informative pieces and informative content is supposed to do. It is to make you think. It is to tap into your logical brain. It is to encourage critical thinking and analysis. It is to encourage getting background information, as in your personal experiences. You're supposed to reflect on those personal experiences, and then you're supposed to introspect on how I'm feeling about this information right now, and then you're supposed to create a prospect, a future that you can foresee with this thing happening. All of this cognition that is happening while we are presented with informative pieces, there is no space for creativity there. There is no space for your creative brain to be interrupting the process. You understand? So I see a lot, even in public speaking, is the most annoying thing, because I don't understand how teachers allow students to do this. But then again, maybe teachers are not au fait with, but then I don't know. English teachers are few and far, but any English teacher who did English is supposed to understand you don't cross genre. There's a time and place and a skillful way that you do that, but it's not supposed to be something that is done in a formal setting, in a classless kind of way. When I say classless, it's okay if you want to throw a little joke here and there as an icebreaker, but you have to make your joke relevant, current, and still thought-provoking. You're not going to throw a lewd joke or a crass joke just for laughs. Your laugh should not be like, oh, ha, 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 I can't catch myself or whatever. It should be like, that is true, you know. You understand? I remember a pastor was giving a sermon. A pastor was giving a sermon, and he said, he was talking about St. Vincent and so on, and he was like, you know, every time you get in your car, you have to pray. You have to pray because you don't know if you're going to make it anymore on the journey. I knew that we always drove on the left side of the road, but these days it looks like we are driving on what is left. And I laughed. He's giving information. He's giving his sermon. That's a nice joke that he put in there. A nice pun. A nice play on words and so on. But it was not so far off from the topic that we couldn't still ponder and say, oh boy, that is true. You know, our roads are very unsafe. You really got to pray when you go in the car. It's not off topic. It's not irrelevant. So there is a skillful way that you can incorporate a bit light-hearted release of tension, right? But crossing the genres where you're presenting an obvious skit in the middle of your persuasion, don't do that. Don't do that. So the whole introductory sentence not being a skit of ring, 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 ring. And I'm saying this because this is actually how someone started a public speaking topic. They had a whole phone conversation, and then Digicel told them they had no more credit left, and then they started their speech. Don't do that. Okay? We don't want to. If you're doing drama, yes, it feels weird. You know why it feels weird? Because it's asking you to tap into a side of your brain that you did not prepare while sitting down to hear this thing. It's asking you to suspend your disbelief and then adopt your disbelief within the flip of a switch, right? And people do that because most times people use humor when they're anxious. When you're anxious, you're nervous, you use humor, but there's a skillful way of doing it, right? It actually shows your nervousness more than anything. So don't cross the genres. If you're doing a story, the story is not going to be some wonderful made-up story. I remember one year an individual went in for public speaking with a narrative about him having all of these experiences with his uncle, and then he realized that it was a dream at the end. That same ending that I told him, don't give me. Right, he realized it was a dream at the end. So he was just talking about all of these experiences he had with his uncle. That's a narrative. That is not presenting a topic on which you're debating to present factual information for somebody to adopt something. That is entertainment. That is teaching people a life lesson. That's telling a story. That's allowing people to escape their reality. Why you want to escape a reality when I'm here trying to inform you on a reality? So don't cross those genres, okay? So for your introductory sentence, you give me a fun fact, you give me a short fact, your quick fact, or you can give me your description, or you can give me a quotation. When you come up with that, you're then going to move into your topic. So you're going to say the topic that you have, or you are going to discuss, and you will say females are dissatisfied with their working environment due to an increase of discrimination, sexual discrimination, financial wage discrimination, or just the environment is not suited to females. So those are the topics that you have. So you're going to start and say, the topic that I am going to discuss, or these days, women are not content with their working environment due to discrimination. Then you have to know if there is any information in that topic that your reader needs to know. Does everyone know what discrimination means? Does everyone know what is misuse of power? Maybe in the case of the misuse of power, you can present a bit of historical background, right? 25 years ago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines was labeled as the most whatever country, or however, or most people did this, and so on. You can give some historical context. Or you can give a dictionary definition of what is discrimination. So after you provide the background information and so on, you're then going to present your reasoning. Right? So you present your reasoning. So you can say this misuse of power is observed in, and you give your 3 main points. Right? This misuse of power can be seen in misuse of funds, the hiring and firing process, and the judicial process. And you give your 3 main points. Okay? So you have to say what you believe. So I believe, I can see, I have observed, I know. Yes, you can say religion too. So you can say, due to religious discrimination. Okay? So when you give your stance, make sure when you state your stance, I know, I am of the opinion, I am certain. Those are some ways that you can state your stance instead of saying, I agree. Okay? So in your notes in Google Classroom, there is a section that is going to be labeled Phrase Bank. When you click on the Phrase Bank, it's a PDF file with phrases that will help you to produce your stance. It's the same phrase bank. Remember when we did expository, I uploaded that same phrase bank for you to learn the phrases of how to compare, how to contrast, how to show causation, how to interpret, how to give analysis. Okay, Gavisha, take care. I'm just wrapping up the class because this is the last part. The thesis statement is the last part. So you can always catch up afterwards. Right. Thank you so much for coming. And I'll be waiting for your topic and your introductory paragraph. That's the assignment for this class. Have a good evening. Yes. So, back to you. When we're looking at the phrase bank is going to give you phrases that will help you introduce your stance. So like I said, I am certain, I am of the opinion of, I am sure, it is evident, without a shadow of a doubt, I can say. Much can be seen. All of these are ways that you can introduce your stance in saying, I agree that there is a misuse of power that is causing a decline in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's boring. It needs pizzazz. So you give it like that. Do not use I think. Do not use I think. Do not use I think. When you tell somebody I think, it means that you have not completed the thought process. You're still thinking about it. Right? Because when we say I think, it means that, well, I'm thinking all the time. That's what I do from time to time. I think. But when you say I am certain, it means I've already given this thing enough thought and I'm thoroughly convinced. You can even say that. I am thoroughly convinced. But do not say I think. Now, the reason why this word, when we're doing persuasive writing, we have to pay attention to our words. Because what we do not understand is that words have connotative and denotative meaning. Think means that, yes, I use my brain and I look at facts surrounding that. But the connotative meaning is that you're not 100% sure. Right? So if somebody says, I think it's going to rain today, they're going to want to know, but are you sure it's going to rain? Okay? Are you sure? Right? So, I think she went into town, Are you sure she went into town? Maybe she did. Maybe she told you she was going to, but did you double check? You see? So I think it's going to give your audience doubt. Now, if you're going to try to convince somebody beyond the shadow of a doubt, you speaking from a position where you're not really sure or you're insinuating doubt is not going to help your essay. Right? So don't say I think. But the phrase bank will give you a lot of phrases that you can use to create your thesis statement with your stance. Okay? And after you do that, you have your introductory paragraph. Next class, we're going to look at persuasive techniques. Now, when we do the persuasive techniques and you see the list of persuasive techniques, you're going to be able to see which 3 you're going to use for the topic that you selected. Because not all 3 paragraphs can have the same technique repeated. You have to switch it up a little. So you'll have to pick 3 that you like, or 3 that you figure is most effective, or 3 that you figure you can handle. But we're going to do all of them when we're looking at that. So that is the end of today's class. Let me just do a recap. Yesterday we looked at what is persuasive writing and the purpose for persuasive writing, as well as the structure of persuasive essays, which is a 5-paragraph structure. Today, as smoothly as we move along, we start off with the pre-writing process. I asked for you to complete the pre-writing process yesterday to create your topic and your 3 main points, just like what we did for cause and effect writing. You would realize that persuasive writing will have a lot of similarities to cause and effect because they're presenting issues same way, factual information, but this time, whereas cause and effect, there's a definite cause and effect. For persuasive writing, it's more of a debate. You can have different opinions of the exact cause or the exact effect and so on. And it's a matter of presenting the rightest one or the most believable one. You understand? Like I said, the purpose of it is part of being a lawyer or a politician. There is no right party or wrong party. It's just a party that is most skillful at convincing. Right? It's just like a lawyer. You can be guilty, you can be innocent. Whether you are guilty or you are innocent, it doesn't matter. It's about the lawyer who can argue the case the best. Okay? So, we're looking at the structure. We said that your introductory sentence, give me a fun fact, give me a description, give me a quick fact, or give me a quotation. Do not give me a dramatization, because dramatization is belonging to creative writing and persuasive writing is informative. There is a way that you can give description, or you can give an anecdote that is both tactful, or you can even give a bit of comic relief in the form of a joke. But this is not supposed to be done in an overboard fashion, or crass, or lewd, or irrelevant fashion. So do not give me a skit. right? Do the skit for the story. Remember when we had the story writing, you could start with dialogue, you could start with a sound onomatopoeia, you can start with literary devices, you can start with olfactory imagery, you can start with all sorts of things for a narrative. This is informative writing. Informative writing is formal, it's very, rigid, it's very structural. Let's be serious about it. So we don't want any skits. The next sentence I said, after you narrowed your topic, you should at least know the angle what you're working. So you got to give me, what is the topic? So you present your topic. You presented your beautiful topic based on your pre-writing, brainstorming, organizing and categorizing, logically sequencing of your points. Present your topic. And then give me some information that you figure I will need to know to back that. So are you going to give me a definition? Gavisha said she's going to give a definition of discrimination, right? Or you can give a historical background information. So you can give me a little bit of history of when women's suffrage and women's rights and feminism really took off. Or you can give me a history of St. Vincent and its political climate. Or maybe a history of something that was said by a minister that alludes to a decline in whatever because of misuse of power. So you go ahead and you tell me whatever information I need to know so that I will be ready to adopt and accept the information that you're going to present in the body. After this, you present your stance. And you present your stance very tactfully, creatively, but not very uncertainly. So do not say, I think. I'm thoroughly convinced. I am of the opinion. I can clearly see. It is evident. You know what you can also use? Remember when we did, what was that one? We did the method and process essay for expository. I told you can use majority. So you can say most Vincentians believe. You can say most Vincentians believe that this so and so and so and so. Right? Or you can say most women believe. Right? So you can introduce your stance like that. Like, this is not only my stance, but I have a majority on this stance. And you present your 3 main points. Those 3 main points are the points that you would have categorized and organized and brainstormed in your pre-writing process. And then you go on to create your body. That would be done in tomorrow's class. Well, not tomorrow's class. Class after that, because tomorrow's class we're looking at persuasive writing. Hopefully by then, I will get my whiteboard so I can write for you. You know, I like to write, even though you have your notes in Google Classroom. But if you need to go ahead and read your notes called Why Argue? Why Argue will also give you the structure and also give you examples of these same sentences that I gave. So until I get myself organized, thank you so much for signing in. I do appreciate your participation, Gavisha and Antoinette. Y'all were wonderful today. Great job researching your topics and defining your topics. Go ahead and do the research and continue to work towards success. Ones. We're getting ones for CSEC. We're getting ones. I submitted your names to Adult and Continuing Education so that you can go ahead and get yourself signed up. The signing up process will require you to carry in your ID card and everything. So the names that I sent down is just to show that yes, I am signing up those people. If you're in the class and your name is not, and I have not asked you for your name, do not go down to Adult Ed. If you are in the class and I have not asked you for your name, do not go down to Adult Ed. You will sign up the next time around. Right? And remember, signing up is based on your performance for exam as well as your attendance. Yes. Oh, it's Tekla. Hi, Tekla. Is the pumpy I see. So, Tekla, I hope your foot is feeling better. So, yes, Tekla, your name is on the list. Antoinette, your name is on the list. Gavisha, your name is on the list. Cornelia, your name is on the list. If you didn't hear your name, do not go down to Adult Ed. So thank you very much for signing in. Have a good one, ladies. All the best.